friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Olivia and today we are going to be talking all about the books I want to read in the month of July. So the month of July is definitely going to be one that is interesting. I've been on a pretty good roll for most of the year, but I've got a lot happening in July as well as August, so I feel like my video schedule is kind of wonky and my reading is kind of weird. So I'm definitely calling this more of like a mood reading month because I don't know what in the world I'm actually going to get read. There's two very exciting things that are happening though, one of them being a readathon, another is my book club, but other than that, it's just going to be kind of like a whatever month. Even though it's still summer, I'm honestly craving some really creepy, spooky reads. So in order to fulfill or satisfy that need of kind of fall books, I'm actually going to participate in Summerween. So I will talk about my TBR in this video, but let's just go ahead and start off this video by talking about my book club through my Patreon, which is the Tea Time Society for $3 a month. You can join my monthly book club. There's also other perks as well, and it's a super fun time, but we basically just discuss live. Usually I have a co-host, but we discuss and just talk about our thoughts on the book. But you guys actually get to pick one out of the 3 books. So there's always a poll or a voting option, so you do have a say in the book that we pick. And for the month of July, you guys chose The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. And to say I'm excited about this one is definitely an understatement. If you guys have been here long enough, you guys know how much I raved about the Dead Romantics at any chance I could get last year. And her new book just came out this past week. I got the chance to hang out with her and hear her talk and meet her on the day this book released this week, and it was just such a fun time. If you don't know anything about this book though, I'm gonna go ahead and just read the back because the back definitely speaks for itself for this one. Sometimes the worst day of your life happens and you have to figure out how to live after it. For Clementine West, that means burying her head in her work as a book publicist, being practical and forgetting the silly things her beloved Aunt Amelia taught her, like living wide and chasing the moon. Clementine would rather stay grounded and keep her heart safe. For the last 6 months, she's done just that. But when she moves into her late aunt's apartment and finds a strange man standing in the kitchen, a man with kind eyes, a southern drawl, and a taste for lemon pies, her well-laid plans begin to fall apart. Because he's the type of man who, before it all, she would have fallen head over heels for, and she still might. Except he exists in the past, 7 years in the past to be exact, and she quite literally lives 7 years in the future. I love and adore fantasy. You guys know I am a huge fantasy reader. I was solely a fantasy reader just a couple years ago, but I owe it to Ashley Poston for finally getting me into romance because, as you can tell, she always weaves some type of magical element into her stories, and it just makes the story so much more magical and fun, and I just have a deeper connection to her stories because of that. But I know this is going to be another book that deals with grief and all sorts of other hard topics, which I know is going to absolutely wreck me in the end, just like the Dead Romantics did. But if you want to join the book club and read this with us, we're going to be having the live discussion on Tuesday, August 1st. Now we're going to go ahead and jump right into talking about the spooky reads that I'm going to be reading. Summerween actually starts just this week on July 7th, and I'm going to be participating as much as I possibly can. I'm hoping to vlog it as well, but I do have a lot going on. So Summerween for me last year was chaotic. We were moving and going through kind of like a big life transition, so I wanted to participate this year because I feel like I could fully enjoy it and just have more time for it. If I haven't mentioned already and you guys don't know what Summerween is, it's honestly probably one of the biggest readathons in the community. It's hosted by Gabby Reads and Olivia Reads a Latte here on YouTube. Basically the horror queens. I get so many recommendations from them because I'm not full out horror, but I really love their spooky thriller recommendations. So if you guys have not checked them out before, definitely check them out, but I'm so excited to participate in this readathon. But the first prompt is just to read a book in the dark, and I read in the dark on my Kindle in bed quite a bit, and I also have quite a few ARCs on my shelves that I need to make sure I read. So I am going to be reading Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. This book comes out September 12th and I could not wait any longer. I had to request this and try my shot at it, and thankfully I got an e-arc of this. I'm so excited because Kako is one of my favorite kind of spooky, very different and unique books that I read last year. It really helped me kind of transition from fantasy contemporary into kind of more spooky eerie. This one I know very little about. I just know that the main theme is there's a black sheep in every family, and I think our main character actually gets a wedding invite to one of her family members' weddings, and she's trying to decide if she wants to go back into that toxic family situation or not. But other than that, she does include kind of like spooky eerie elements in her stories, so I have no idea what that's gonna mean for this one, but I'm very excited to find out. The next prompt is to read a thriller, which is right up my alley. I have plenty of those, but for this one I'm actually going to be reading Ruth Ware's The Death of Mrs. Westaway. This is one of the few Ruth Wares I actually have not read yet, and because I've had so many people, including close friends that know my reading taste, tell me this might actually be my #1 like favorite Ruth Ware book, I had to give it a shot. I had to pick this one up. I got it at my local thrift store, and I am excited to dive into this one because I loved Turn of the Key, and I've heard this one kind of has similar vibes. I actually know nothing about it, but it's definitely giving me gothic vibes, and I do know this girl somehow gets a letter and she learns that she has a huge inheritance from her grandmother. So I'm assuming that she ends up going to her grandmother's estate. She finds out more family secrets and things. I don't know if this is gonna be spooky or how twisty it's gonna get, but honestly, I'm just here for the vibes, and I'm very curious as to why people are telling me I'm gonna love this one. The next prompt is to read a book set during the fall, and that's kind of tricky. I honestly didn't do a lot of research for this one. I'm just going to assume that cozy mysteries are going to give me the best fall vibes just in general. For this one I have two options because I don't know what I'm going to be feeling, but I have A Potion to Die For, and I also have Curse the Day by Annabelle Chase. In this story, if I'm remembering correctly, we have an elderly lady who runs this potion shop. This one is definitely giving me witchy vibes, but one of our main characters actually goes to visit this shop. I think her husband wants a divorce, and so she's looking for some type of magical potion to hopefully keep them together. I do know Heather Blake is a pretty popular cozy mystery author. I don't believe I've read anything by her yet, but I feel like this is just going to be a really cute, fun time. From what I know about Curse the Day, it takes place in a small town, and I think kind of gives off Gilmore Girls vibes. I'm just going to read a little bit of the back because I know very little about this one. I do know it's about a girl that discovers she's a witch and kind of has to come to terms with that. The only magic Emma Hart believes in is caffeine and the power of the dryer to lose one sock per load. A public interest lawyer buried under a mound of student debt, Emma's whole life has been one turn of bad luck after another. Her streak seems to continue when she gets lost on the way to a client in the remote Pocono Mountains. A chance encounter with a suicidal angel lands her in Spellbound, a town where supernaturals have been cursed to remain for centuries. Probably not the best time for Emma to discover that she's actually a witch. So I don't know where we go from here, but this one just sounds so cozy. Obviously very quirky, but I'm all about the witchy vibes, and I've heard this one is super great. So I'm excited to dive into this. The next prompt is to read a book with orange or black on the cover, which was honestly kind of hard to choose because there's a lot of books with those colors, but I decided to read Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. I'm going to be buddy reading this with a couple other friends during Summerween, which I think is going to be really fun. There's obviously black on the bookshelf and in the typography of the title, but this one intrigues me a lot because it's not only a debut, but Catriona Ward, who writes crazy intense spooky psychological books, also blurbed this, but the only thing I know is it is about the death of a bookseller, and I think our main character might possibly be a bookseller, but I know she runs a podcast. I guess she decides to take it upon herself to solve this mystery of her friend. It's supposed to be darkly funny and suspenseful. Our main character's name is Roach, so as you can imagine, this is definitely going to be an interesting ride. I'm kind of just going into this one pretty open-minded with some low expectations because while it does sound like it could be a possible 5-star, I just have no idea what the plot is, so we're just gonna go into this one having some fun. And the last prompt is to read a graphic novel, manga, or novella, and you guys know I love a good graphic novel, so I have 3 choices here because honestly I can't choose, but my first choice that I think I'm gonna go with is Garlic and the Witch by Bree Paulsen. Garlic and the Vampire was one of my favorite graphic novels I read last year, and obviously this is the perfect witchy vibe. It's got those fall colors. It may even be technically set in fall, so it could probably work for that prompt as well. I love our little Garlic. She's so cute. All of the characters in this story are vegetables and they are friends. It's kind of like the found family trope, but she deals with anxiety and it is so cute. It's so stinking relatable and I love Garlic with my whole heart. If you guys have not picked up the first one, you definitely should. I think these are more like companion novels than they are first and second, so I don't think you have to read them in order, but if you have not checked it out, please do because I love this series. I also have The Okay Witch and The Hungry Shadow, which is number 2. The first one is The Okay Witch. This is an adorable middle grade graphic novel series about this girl who basically discovers she's a witch. I think she lives with her aunts, but it's been a really long time since I read the first one. I just remember giving the first one 4 or 5 stars and it was so cute. And then I also have Wait Until Helen Comes by Mary Downing Hahn. This looks so spooky and dark and creepy. I'm one of those people that actually has not read the original story, but I'm just gonna be starting with the graphic novel and see how it goes. Molly and her brother Michael try to make friends with their new stepsister Heather, but Heather only wants to make trouble for them. She lies and tattles and misbehaves, and Molly and Michael always get the blame. They know Heather's trying to drive a wedge between her father and their mother, and it seems to be working. Then Heather starts playing in the graveyard behind their new house. She claims she can talk to a ghost named Helen and her behavior gets even stranger. Michael doesn't believe in ghosts, but Molly isn't so certain, especially when Heather threatens that Helen is going to come for them and make them sorry. It seems as though things can't get any worse, but then they do when Helen comes. Okay, I'm officially creeped out. This sounds so scary. I'm trying not to spoil myself or you guys with some of the like storyline, but the artwork is very much your basic kind of comic strips, which I kind of like that. This one is going to be the spookiest out of the 3 of them, so we are just going to end up seeing what I feel like reading. The next book, which surprisingly is my only fantasy read for the month of July, I can definitely tell I'm getting all my romance, cozy, mystery feelings out now because I can guarantee in the fall and winter, fantasy is probably going to be the only thing I read. But the only book that I have on my list is Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. The reason this is on my list is, first of all, I love the first one, but second, the 3rd book actually comes out this November, which is super exciting because I thought this was only a duology for the longest time. It's very surprising that she would wait 5 years to publish another one in this series, but regardless, I'm super excited. The first book just gives you all the pirate adventures that you could ever want. Like if you picture Jack Sparrow's daughter, that's who this girl is, and it was such a fun time. I enjoyed it so much. I feel like it's the perfect summertime read, so I'm excited to see where this goes. I don't know why it took me so long to read the first one, but this series is just such a great time. Like this is what I want in my young adult books. Little to no romance, but just a really fun time, so I highly recommend checking these out. I actually have 4 summary cozy mysteries, which I know I've probably mentioned in multiple videos before, but there is 2 that I do want to continue on in this series. The first is number 2, To Live and Let Chai. The second one is actually No Good Tea Goes Unpunished, and I will put the cover up here. I really enjoyed this first one. You have a cozy little tea shop on the coast. She makes all different kinds of iced tea, so there's lots of food descriptions, but our main character is actually accused of poisoning one of her customers with her tea because he turns up dead, and that's the logical, obvious choice of a suspect. The main thing that I loved about this is there's actually a couple suspenseful moments. Not that it was a thriller necessarily, but I feel like in cozy mysteries you're just kind of like walking through the story, getting to know the characters, but I really enjoyed the overall atmosphere and just everything about it otherwise, so I'm definitely eager to pick up the second one in the series. I don't physically own it, but I do physically own 3 and 4. Don't know how that happens somehow, but yeah, I definitely want to pick up more of these while it's still warm outside. The next cozy mystery series that I started and I really enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would is Beaches, Bungalows, and Burglaries. So again, I cannot remember the title of the second one, but I'll put it up here. These are super short. This one was only about 150 pages. I blew through it in one afternoon, and I just really want to continue this series. It was really good. I love how the reveal was done. It kind of left you on a cliffhanger, which typically doesn't always happen with cozy mysteries. It's a really cute, heartwarming story. I loved all the characters. It's definitely more southern. I think there was a couple southern accents in this one, which was super fun. I gave this one like 4.5 stars, so I'm really excited to continue on with this series. I don't think I'm going to physically own them because I think there's like 20 at this point, but I'm definitely going to be buying the Christmas ones as well because this is just a solid series. I really enjoyed it. The next series that I'm hoping to start is It Takes Two to Mango by Carrie Doyle. This one just sounds like the perfect summer cozy mystery. Like, I need to read it now. After Plum Lockhart's job as a travel magazine editor is eliminated in corporate cuts, she decides she's sick of cold winters in NYC and fruitless swiping on dating apps. What she needs is a dramatic change of scenery. On a whim, she accepts a job as a villa broker and moves to a beautiful Caribbean island. But paradise isn't as perfect as it seems. The slow pace of island life, the language barrier, and a cutthroat office rival make Plum question leaving her old life behind. However, when a client is found dead in the jacuzzi of Casa Mango, a property Plum manages, she knows she's really in a jam with a killer loose on the island. I just love a good summer cozy mystery. Yes, there's good fall cozy mysteries, but I think this is just going to be a really fun one, especially because it's set on an island, so you kind of get that isolated feeling as well. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of great food descriptions and things as well in this one, but yeah, I'm hoping to finally pick this one up. Last but not least, this is probably my most anticipated cozy mystery like ever because so many of my friends love this one, is Smile Beach Murder by Alicia Bessette. It takes place in the Outer Banks at a bookshop, but it also says a former reporter turned bookshop clerk in the Outer Banks who's pulled into a deeply web of secrets when a mysterious fall at a lighthouse echoes a tragedy from her past. We also have what looks to be a treasure hunt. Sign me up. Outer Banks, bookshop, treasure hunt. I mean, honestly, what more could you want in a cozy mystery? Aside from cozy mysteries, I do have a couple other more like spooky kind of thrillery-ish mystery books. One of them being Summer's Edge by Dana Mel? I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce her name, but my friend Kendal read this and gave it 5 stars. I've never heard of this author before. This cover definitely sucks me in, and it was also a Y Book Club choice for Barnes & Noble. And I've heard it's like Haunting of Hill House mixed with I Know What You Did Last Summer. Emily Joyner was inseparable from the others, a sister, a best friend, a lover, and a rival. Summers at the lake house without Emily were unthinkable, until the fire burned the lake house to ashes with Emily inside. A year later, it's in Emily's honor that Chelsea and her 4 friends decide to return. The house awaits them meticulously rebuilt, only Chelsea is haunted by ghostly visions. Chelsea and her friends have one night to unravel a mystery spanning 3 summers before a killer among them exacts their revenge. That is, if they can survive long enough to find out. I actually started this one on audio only, but I think it's going to be one that I read physically as well because there's several viewpoints. There's a couple things that are already really spooky and kind of confusing. I'm going to give this one a chance and I am going to enjoy it because it's at a lake house. So again, perfect summer vibes, so what's not to love? And then we have the very well-known Mr. Grady Hendrix, who I like to call Hokey Horror Hendrix. I have the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Yes, I have not read this yet, and yes, I was considering keeping this until the fall, but I've heard this takes place during the summer in Charleston, in the same town that my best friend's exorcism took place at. Because I read my best friend's exorcism last summer, I feel like it's only fitting that I pick up another one of his books this summer. I'm kind of getting more comfortable with also reading vampire books, so this one is definitely drawing me in right now, and I'm hoping to make it a priority. If I can't get to it in July, I definitely want to try to get to it in August because I feel like this is one of his most polarizing books, and it's the only one left of his I have not read. So we're gonna go ahead and see what I think of this one. The next spooky thrillery book I'm going to be picking up is Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. This does come out August 8th, so I am trying to squeeze the arc in before the actual book comes out. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this author, I'm not gonna lie. I loved The House on Needless Street, that was a 5-star. I also read Sundial, which was a 3. So her books are just so crazy confusing that I get so frustrated reading them, but by the time you finish, you're like, wow, she is an absolute genius. In a lonely cottage overlooking the windswept Maine coast, Wilder Harlow begins the last book he will ever write. It is the story of his childhood summer companions and the killer that stalked the small New England town, of the body they found and the horror of that discovery echoing down the decades, and of Skye, Wilder's one-time best friend who stole his unfinished memoir and turned it into a lurid best-selling novel, Looking Glass Sound. But as Wilder writes, the lines between memory and fiction blur. He fears he's losing his grip on reality when he finds notes hidden around the cottage written in Skye's signature green ink. Catriona Ward delivers another mind-bending and cleverly crafted tale about one man's struggle to come to terms with the terrors of his past before it's too late. This one sounds insanely creepy, but I love the fact that it's set on the coast and it almost sounds like it's an ode or a nod to like writers and readers because our main character sounds like he's an author. So I think this could have the potential to take the top place over Needless Street, but by that synopsis, I'm 100% sold and I need to read this like tomorrow. And because it is still summertime, of course I have 3 romances that are at the top of my list. One of them I already started, which is The Match by Sarah Adams. You guys know, I'm sure, from Book Talk and Bookstagram and even BookTube, Sarah Adams has kind of taken over the internet as like the top romance author, I feel like, this year, and for very good reason. I ended up buying this a couple months ago. It's set in Charleston. Our main character actually struggles with epilepsy, and so she has a service dog herself, but she's trying to convince this single dad that her daughter also needs a service dog because she deals kind of with the same health issues. And already, I mean, I'm like 50 pages in, but I'm loving every single second of this. I love the single dad trope. I think it's so cute and so sweet. So here we are finally going to read The Match, and I promise I will finish it. This is my top romance book because I really want to finally get into Practice Makes Perfect, but I feel like I had to finish this one first. The next book is another one that took the book internet by storm. That is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I'm hoping to love this one more than Every Summer After because I didn't love Every Summer After, but this is me giving the author a second chance. I really want to read this summer because I feel like if I wait any longer, it's just not going to get read for a couple more years, and it needs to finally happen. Our main character ends up going back home to like this lakeside resort. She ends up catching feelings again for a guy that she had feelings for 10 years years ago, and I'm very interested to see how that plays out. It looks like we also have some notes, and it's a dual timeline, which I really love. I'm hoping to love this one more than every summer after, but we'll just see how it goes. Last but not least is a book that I meant to get to last year because everybody was talking about it, is The Royals Next Door. I love this cover, but basically our main character is struggling with her career. I think she's an elementary school teacher, but her life suddenly becomes more interesting when she realizes British royalty moves in next door to her. I think she ends up falling in love with maybe the bodyguard or like one of the British royalties. So we're just gonna see where this book takes us, but I definitely think it's gonna be a really fun time. Well, there you have it, my friends. Those are all the books that I am hoping to get through in the month of July, but if I can't, some of these will probably roll into August because August will still be summertime. So I'm just gonna be mood reading and probably reading at a slower pace, but I'm probably the most excited for Summerween. So you guys will definitely have to let me know what you're reading for that readathon because that's probably gonna be the highlight of my month. But thank you so much for watching and listening to me ramble about books. Thank you for supporting my channel. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video.